Hey guys, Chip here. Hey, today I want to talk a little bit about how I've created this custom pipeline to generate these concept models for a project I'm working on. Here, let me tell you about it. Hey guys, let me interrupt for just a second and tell you a quick note about the voice you're hearing. So I start these videos the way I always have, which is working through the project on screen and taking screenshot videos of it and talking about it as I go. And that usually means some rambling, some repetition, rabbit holes, and plenty of ums and uhs and stuff like you're hearing now. And so I've built an AI workflow that takes that original recording and it gives me a really good edit. It tightens up my explanations, removes the repetition, and turns 20 minutes of me talking into something closer to 10 minutes, and then uses an AI version of my voice to narrate that edited version. So while the voice you're hearing may not literally be me speaking these exact words, the ideas, opinions, demonstrations, and explanations are all mine. I think of it as AI assisted editing rather than AI generated content. That's also what the Skill Me logo means. Whenever you see that logo in one of my videos, it's my way of saying these are my ideas, my work, and my point of view. I've just used AI to help me communicate them more clearly and concisely and save you time. It won't always be perfect. You may hear the occasional strange pronunciation or something that doesn't sound quite like me, but that's part of the process and it's getting better all the time. So when you see Still Me, that's exactly what it means. It's still me, just shorter.
If you have ever tried to get usable geometry out of an AI model generator, this one is for you. The reason I built this is a film called Mission to Avalon. It is a project I have been circling for over 20 years and it needs a big world. Props, equipment, vehicles, people. Far more than I can model by hand and far more than I can generate as finished video. So I spent a week and a pile of cloud credits testing every model generator I could find. Here is the short version. No matter which one you pick, you will not get good hard surface geometry without a frontier model doing the heavy lifting. The local-only dream does not hold up yet. That answer shaped everything that follows. The generation itself goes to the best model I can reach. The cleanup, the retopology, the texture bake, all of that runs locally in Blender where I actually control it. Let me show you the problem first. Here is a concept scene I generated. I like it, and I can see the parts I want out of it. This unit here, that one, and the one on the bench. 3 objects worth building. The trouble is I cannot hand this picture to a model generator and expect anything back. Look at it the way the AI does. Objects overlap. They share edges. Half of each one is hidden behind something else, and the lighting ties them all together. There is no clean silhouette anywhere in the frame for it to lock onto. What it needs instead looks like this. One object, dead center, on a plain white background, lit so every surface reads. I call these plates. A plate is the unit of currency for the whole pipeline. Everything upstream makes them, everything downstream eats them. A few different parts, each one alone in frame, each one shot the same way. That is all a generator wants. So the real question stops being how do I model this and becomes how do I get from a scene I like to a folder full of clean plates. That is what this chart lays out. I call it idea to insert, 4 stages. Write the prompts, render the plates, sort the queue, then build the model. After that, it gets sharpened and shipped as an insert. Each stage is its own skill, and each one hands a folder to the next. The reason it is split that way is that every stage fails differently. Bad prompts waste renders. Bad plates waste model credits. A good model with a filthy mesh is useless in a scene. Keeping them separate means I can rerun one stage without paying for the others again. Start with the picture. This is Gen Scene Prompts. I point it at one scene image and it picks out the primary hard surface parts. Or I just tell it what I want if it guesses wrong. Then it writes one plate prompt per part. The trick here is that both models get a look. ChatGPT gets the actual image attached so it can see the thing it is describing. Claude writes prompts too. You can run either one or both, and I usually run both because they notice different details in the same picture. Every prompt it writes follows the same contract. Square, white background, one part, consistent lighting. That contract is the reason the plates come out usable instead of merely pretty. Then it hands the whole batch straight to the render skill and the plates land in the project folder. So one scene image goes in and a folder of isolated generator-ready parts comes out. No manual cropping, no rebuilding backgrounds, no writing the same paragraph of prompt boilerplate 8 times. That is the whole job of this first skill. Everything renders through one skill. This is render, and it is the only renderer in the system. It asks its own questions up front: subject, aspect, which engines, how many, and then it goes away and works while I do something else. The engine list is the point. Midjourney, ChatGPT, and Grok on the cloud side. Ideogram, Qwen, Z-Image, Flux, and Ernie running locally on the 5090. Same prompt, many voices. Some engines are better at panels and vents, others at cables and soft forms. When it finishes, it builds a web page with every render side by side. That gallery is where I actually make decisions. I look across the whole set, pick the ones with the cleanest silhouettes, and those are the only plates that move on to the next stage. Sometimes I do not have a scene to work from. I just know what I want. A set of mining tools, 10 interior modules, whatever it is, that is Gen prompt. It starts from a theme instead of a picture and gives me variety across a family. Same machinery underneath, ChatGPT and Claude write the prompts, the same plate contract applies, and it renders through the same render skill into the same plates folder. Different way in identical output. So those are the two prompt writers. Now we turn plates into geometry. This is Gen Tripo. It takes plates and builds models through Tripo and nothing else. I tested every generator I could get my hands on, and for hard surface work, Tripo came out ahead. Not perfect, but consistently the best of the group. It costs real money. Roughly 55 credits a model on the studio subscription. So the skill asks one price question, waits for a yes, and reports what it spent at the end. No surprise bills, point it at a single image or an entire to-do folder and walk away. I always pull the highest quality mesh Tripo will give me, then reduce it myself in Blender. Tripo can decimate for you, but it does not do it the way I want. Doing it locally gets me sharper edges and a texture bake I actually control.
Then it ships as a Kit OPS insert.
There is a free arm too. This is Gen TRELLIS, and it runs TRELLIS 0.2 locally on the 5090. Nothing but GPU time for simple shapes. It holds up perfectly well, and since it costs nothing, it is the right first try on a big batch. While I am here, I also tested driving Blender directly with Claude over MCP, building geometry with code. I am not shipping that one. It was the worst of everything I tried. It can manage a coffee cup. It cannot manage a piece of equipment. TRELLIS follows the same path as Tripo. Build the mesh, add the surface maps, run the same sharpening pass in Blender, then retexture. The retexture step is a little different from a plain bake. I export the mesh and texture it directly with AI instead. That comes back sharper and cleaner than baking alone. Then I pull 4 views of the finished model just to check it from every side and build the insert from that. Free arm, paid arm, same shape of result. Now the part I get asked about most, what actually happens to the mesh inside Blender? 6 steps in order, and each one depends on the last. Run them out of order, and you will undo your own work. This chart is the map for everything in the demo coming up. Step 1, free the mesh. I duplicate it and unlink the copy from the original, because this copy is going to become an insert, and I do not want it tied to a 1.8 million face parent for the rest of its life. Then cut the faces down. I decimate from around 1.9 million to a couple of 100,000. That sounds brutal, and it is, but almost all of that detail is reconstruction noise rather than shape. The silhouette survives it fine. Then weld and flatten. Welding merges vertices that should have been one point already. Flattening dissolves faces that are pretending to be curved when they are actually flat panels. That is where the model stops looking melted and starts looking manufactured. Last, rename everything, drop the origin to the middle of the base, and save it as an insert. Renaming matters more than it sounds. Meshes and materials arrive with generated names, and duplicate material names inside Blender will quietly confuse each other. Now let me actually run it. Here's a fresh scene, and here are some of the inserts we just talked about. I drop one in, move it where I want it, scale it a touch. This is Kit Ops doing the placing, and these are exactly the models that came out of that pipeline. And that is all placing an insert is. Pick it from the browser, click, and it drops onto the surface under your cursor. Scroll the wheel and it resizes as it goes down. No import dialog, no scaling afterwards, no hunting for the file. That is the whole reason I ship them as inserts. Look at the quality up close. These are genuinely well-modeled and properly textured panel lines, vents, and even the cabling running off the back. Part of the toolset keeps those cables smooth while it sharpens the flat panels around them, which is harder than it sounds. The same workflow is not limited to equipment. Here are some humans built the exact same way. Plate generator, sharpen, insert, drop one in, and it behaves like any other asset. Nothing about the pipeline is specific to machines. These live in their own packs, equipment in one, humans in another, and the browser just shows you thumbnails of what is inside. That matters more than it sounds. Once a model is in a pack, it stops being a file you have to find and becomes something you place without thinking. And bipedal robots, because the film needs plenty of those, same route through. No special handling at a distance. Every one of these holds up perfectly well, which is really the bar for set dressing. I will be sharing some of these packs with my Patreon folks. And that is a set, 4 machines, 3 people, 2 robots, all generated from plates, all placed in a couple of minutes. None of it would survive a close-up as a hero asset, and none of it needs to. This is background. It has to read at a distance and not cost me a week. Now the Sharpen pass itself. I import the raw GLB straight from the generator, and there it is, 1.9 million faces, completely unusable in a real scene. Everything from here is about getting that number down without losing the shape. First, it copies the object and hides the original. That hidden copy is not clutter. We need it later to bake the textures from. The add-on runs the whole cleanup as a numbered list, and you can fire them all with one button, but let me walk through them one at a time. Weld vertices first, it just merged about 6.5% of them. Points that were sitting on top of each other doing nothing. Free win, no shape lost. There is a make manifold step too, but it changes the topology more than I want here. Worth knowing what that manifold step is though. It uses the same service Bamboo Lab uses, and it is far better than anything native to Blender right now. If you're heading to a 3D printer, use it. Windows only, I'm afraid. Now, decimate, targeting 250,000 faces. This one takes a moment. Decimation runs on the CPU, not the GPU, and there it is, down from 1.9 million, tab in, and you can see what the density actually looks like now. 250,000 is not a magic number. It is just where this kind of model stops getting visibly better and starts getting expensive. The reconstruction hands you nearly 2 million because it does not know which detail matters. Most of it is noise sitting on flat panels. Next, clear the custom normals. The generator adds its own and they fight everything that comes after, so they have to go. Then detect curved surfaces. This is the step that protects the cabling I mentioned earlier. Everything it marks here is excluded from dissolving and from being made planar. So the hoses stay round while the panels get flattened. It does not catch everyone perfectly, and I can select more by hand if I care enough, but it gets most of the way there on its own. You can see the count down in the corner, just under 8,000 verts selected out of 124,000. That is about 6% of the mesh being protected, and it is the 6% that would look wrong if it went flat. Now a coarse dissolve at a maximum angle of 20 degrees. That collapses everything that is nearly flat into actually flat. I lose the UV maps doing it, which is fine. We rebuild those. Shade flat and look at the difference. Far crisper already. There is a keep UV seams option here that I leave switched off. Tick it and the dissolve respects your existing seams, so you keep the unwrap, but it also refuses to collapse a lot of faces you wanted gone. I would rather throw the UVs away and rebuild them in a second. Then make planar twice at a factor of 0.75. Dissolve again to clean up what that exposed. There is a second make planar after it that I leave switched off by default, because it sometimes introduces artifacts. Worth experimenting with on your own meshes. Now unwrap it, since we threw the UVs away. I skip triangulation entirely, then shade auto smooth, which just drops a modifier on there. That is the geometry finished. All that is left is putting the surface detail back onto it, baking the textures. This is where that hidden original earns its keep. It unhides, it bakes from the high poly onto the low poly, and hides it again when it is done. It reuses the exact same maps the original came with. This was an 8K map baking normals at 4K. It bakes 4 maps, not one, diffuse first at 8,000 pixels, then the normal map at 4,000, which is the one doing the real work here, putting all that dissolved detail back as shading, then roughness, then metallic. 4 passes about 40 seconds. And there it is, 48,000 faces, 123,000 triangles, down from nearly 2 million. And honestly, it still looks good. That is the whole system. Idea, plate, model, sharpen, insert. Every one of those machines you saw earlier came through this exact path. Patreon members, I will put the Sharpen add-on up there. If enough of you want it, I will look at releasing it more widely. I mostly wanted to show you how the props for this film are getting made. Thanks for watching, and I will see you online.